is. If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 261 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz. What an exciting show we have for you tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Our subscriptions have gone way up. They continue to grow every single day. Also, hit that notification bell so that you know when new content will arrive. And also smash, absolutely crush that like button. We'd really appreciate it. That'll tell the YouTube generator to send people to the HHH Racing Podcast for great horse racing information. You can follow me on Twitter on my name tag there at HKravitz, and scrolling at the bottom of the screen, the email hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. We've got 2 live shows coming up. One tomorrow, Bettin and Boozin, Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern for a very exciting show. They're going to be talking about the Churchill Late Pick 4 Friday and also some NBA talk. And then Thursday, our flagship show with myself, Pete Visco, Paul Halloran, and a special guest from Santa Anita as we cover the Saturday Late Pick 5 at Santa Anita with 2 grade stakes on the card to kick off Memorial Day weekend. It's going to be fantastic. For tonight's show, in just a moment, we're going to have fantastic former voice of Oaklawn Park, Hollywood Park, many other things he's done in horse racing. Vic Stauffer will be joining us to have a brief, interesting, opinionated, fascinating discussion about the stretch run of the Preakness Stakes this Saturday. Of course, won by National Treasure, who literally was banging heads with Blazing Sevens in the stretch. It was quite the stretch duel. We're going to talk about that with Vic Stauffer. And then right after that, I'm very excited to have the great people of Canterbury Park back as the 2023 Canterbury Park meet will begin this Saturday. Jeff Maday and Angela Hermann will be joining me in the second half, or actually more like 2/3 back half of this podcast to talk about the Canterbury 2023 meet. Shakopee, Minnesota always puts on a great show for horse racing throughout the year, and they're starting that very soon. So we are waiting. Vic Stauffer should be coming on, I hope, at any moment. I'm just checking my emails and everything, make sure he got all the information he should have. So hopefully we're going to have Vic Stauffer on soon. But the genesis of this conversation, as I wait for Mr. Stauffer to come on, is, first of all, Vic's been on the show before. We greatly appreciate him coming on the show about a year and a half ago. He's also a big contest player. We both had some successes in the Express Bet contest for Pimlico, as he finished 4th and I finished 5th out of 165 entries, and we were able to qualify for some national contests later on. Vic got me by 1 at the finish line, literally just like the actual Preakness, with a great bet in the last race. But after the race, there was a bit of a debate. I wouldn't say an argument. Nothing was heated. Just a friendly debate discussion about the stretch run of the Preakness. And listen, there was there was some activity. There was some bumping. There was some stuff going on. There was no inquiry. There was no objection, and that's mainly because National Treasure ended up winning. If he had not won and Blazing Sevens had won, I'm 99% positive there would have been an objection or an inquiry. And I base that a lot off of what Johnny Velasquez said on the Steve Bick show. He was on the Steve Bick show yesterday and said that there would be an inquiry, or he would put up an objection. So, of course, that was not necessary and didn't come to fruition because National Treasure won. But I just want to have a fun discussion of what happened. As we're waiting for Vic Stauffer to come on, we have a bunch of people joining the show as usual. We have Richard Naystat, excitement building, almost opening day, yes, for Canterbury Park. Very excited about that. Corey is here. Hello from Minneapolis. Excited to get some Canterbury talk going. Hello, Corey. How you doing? Thanks for joining the show. We love our Canterbury, Minnesota people for sure. Let's see. We've got Michael Austin. I really enjoy playing Canterbury, especially when it gets to that Lady Canterbury time. Absolutely. A lot of great stake races up at Canterbury Park. Let's see what else we got here. Simon O'Neill is here. Simon is from the UK, so I know Jeff and Angela are in the bullpen waiting for their appearance. But listen, we got people on from all over the world. We got Simon O'Neill from the UK. And hello, Simon. How you doing tonight? Raymond Cromley. Todd is working Forte to go long. Yes, Forte is planning on running in the Belmont, which looks like it's going to be one heck of a horse race, maybe even the best of the Triple Crown races. And yours truly will be there personally to see it. I'm very excited to be at the Belmont in 2.5 weeks. Penn State Scott, IRAD doing IRAD. Well, listen, Penn State Scott, we're going to talk about that. I know Vic and I have different opinions on what happened. That's part of the reason why I want to get him on. Again, I'm just checking to see. Again, he's. I know, I'm just looking. Sorry, I'm just stalling here a little bit. Hopefully, he'll be coming on very soon, guys. But I can, if there's an issue with him or there's a tech issue, whatever, we can go ahead and talk about the situation anyway. Let's see. TF mentioned, why doesn't anyone discuss the bump above Mage's eye? And that's the reason he flattened out. Well, let's talk about that, TF. He had a little issue in his stall earlier in the week, and he had some stitches right up here. Trainers, connections, everyone said that had absolutely nothing, that was not going to affect his run at all. I have to believe what the trainers and the owners say. So he got a little boo-boo. Guys, if you got some stitches, you got a little boo-boo 3 or 4 days before the race, I don't think it would affect you. That situation, to me, had absolutely no bearing on the race whatsoever. I think it was just the fact coming back from a very difficult Kentucky Derby. And while we have Jeff and Angela in the background, if you guys can hear me, I might actually bring you on screen while we're waiting for Vic Stauffer, because I'm sure you have opinions of what happened in the stretch or what didn't happen in the stretch. And Angela's like, I think I do. She knows IRAD very well because she covered Gulfstream, of course, and saw plenty of IRAD. So, and I'm sure Jeff Maday has opinion on just about anything if you ask him. So I'm going to bring you two guys on here in just a second. Again, I apologize to everyone for we were playing on Vic Stauffer on at 5 after 7 and just talked to him for about 15 minutes. I'm just checking. This is live TV, folks, or TV, YouTube. I'm checking my emails. I'm checking my messages, and I don't see anything from him right now. So perhaps there is an issue. But anyway, all right. Let's Ralph Conti's here. Let's do this. I'm going to bring on Jeff Maday, the media relations director, and Angela Hermann, fantastic analyst at Canterbury, and I'll have them talk about the situation as well and ask them what they think. So before we bring on Vic, or hopefully bring on Vic at some point, let's bring on our wonderful folks from Canterbury Park. First, the media relations director for 75 years at Canterbury Park, Mr. Jeff Maday, and fantastic racing analyst from Canterbury Park, Angela Hermann. Guys, thanks for being flexible. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Howard, thanks for having us on.
Good evening. Yeah, thanks for having us on a little earlier than expected.
Yeah, I'm so happy to see you guys again. I'm excited I had to email Jeff and I said, listen, we got to do something for Canterbury. I had people ask, why Canterbury? I'll tell you why Canterbury, because it's a great place. It's great people, and I take care of people who take care of me. And we've had a great connection, guys, since the show started. So I greatly appreciate you guys coming on. We will talk about Canterbury first, but let's talk about the Preakness Stakes. And one thing we are not going to do, and I was going to bring this up with Vic when he came on, but let me just make this clear, Angela and Jeff, because I didn't really preface you guys on what we're this first segment. We are not going to talk about having a meltdown. We're not talking about Bob Baffert. We're not talking about any past histories. I want to specifically talk about the stretch run of the Preakness. That's it. That's it. That's all I want to talk about. There's time and place for other things. It was a very interesting day at the Preakness, mix of good things, bad things, emotional horse racing, pretty much in a nutshell, happened Saturday. But I want to just focus on the Preakness. So if you're watching live, everyone, right now, I'd appreciate if you do not put anything in the comments about Bob Baffert, medication issues. Look, there's a lot of things that can be talked about. I want to talk only about the stretch run. All right, so guys, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take Jeff and Andrew, I'm going to take you guys off the screen, and I'm going to show the stretch run, and I'm going to keep checking my phone, guys, also. So I'm going to have to apologize to, see when we can get, see if Vic comes on. There's a drone shot. Have you guys seen the drone shot, by the way, from TVG of the stretch run of the Preakness? Either one of you?
No.
I did see it, yes.
Okay, so Jeff saw it, Angela didn't. We can show the pan, we can show the head on. I think the drone shot, guys, is really the best thing to look at. So let's go and look at that right now, and do it without sound. So, of course, we've got, here's National Treasure right here with Johnny V and Blazing Sevens with Irad Ortiz. I'm going to show it. Everything's going to be without sound. I'm going to show just from this point forward, and I don't want to talk about it as the race is going on. So here it is again. Again, it was a great stretch to all. Let people just make their own conclusions. That's the 8th pole. I think they just made the 16th pole. They just passed, and they're about to cross the wire. Obviously, it was a very close race. There was some bumping there at the end. There's no question about it. There might have been stuff before that, and there's the wire. Let me show one more time. Let me get to the spot I want to approximately. Here it is one more time. Again, you've got National Treasure right here, Blazing Sevens right here. To me, there was issues even before late in stretch, and we're going to talk about it. Again, stewardship is very difficult. I know Canterbury Park's got great stewards. There was no inquiry. There was no objection. There was no need to. Blazing Sevens actually won the race. So I think we have something from Vic, guys. Hold on one second. Let me go ahead and bring you guys back on. Hold on one second here. I'm just texting Vic right now.
Is he in Germany? Where is he?
He was delayed a little bit. He asked me, is it too late to come on? And it's not. So hopefully he'll be coming on real soon, guys. So everyone at home, please, thanks for your patience. I appreciate it. Vic, actually, the beauty of technology, no text. It was a DM. Vic DM'd me. He's got my phone number, but he said, is it too late? I said, no, come on. So hopefully we'll get Vic on. So, guys, let's go back. Maybe we should, well, before we bring on Vic, you guys are used to live, or Angela used to live TV. I'm sort of adjusting as we go. Your initial reaction, Jeff, you saw that before. And I'll bring it up again. Let's go ahead and split screen, guys. Let's do this here. Sorry. There we go. Let's go to Jeff first, because Jeff, you've seen this before. Your initial thoughts, reaction, not really during the race, but now that you've seen the drone shot again. The main question I have for everyone that I want to answer today is, did Irad/Blazing Sevens do anything wrong in the stretch? If he had won, would he or should he have come down? Jeff Maday, what's your opinion?
I think there would have been an inquiry. At least there should have been an inquiry. And I guess I'll just speak in a broader term, Howard. I think that the public, and maybe even in this case too, deserves an inquiry. I know the stewards are watching these things, even, and they don't always put up the light, but the public doesn't know that. And I think at a race, in any race, I don't care, just at this magnitude especially, but I think the public deserves to know that the stewards are looking at these things, right? Because if you just watch this and you might have thought that the Baffert horse came out on Irad, right? If you were just watching it like I was on the pan. So I think that just speaks to the transparency. Would they have done anything? Probably not. I mean, we've seen this move by Irad many times before. I would guess they probably wouldn't, but I think they at the very least should have looked at it, or at least told the public that they were looking at it, and they could have made a quick decision. But I think that gives bettors more faith and more trust in the game. Before I go to Angela's opinion, Jeff, do you want to briefly talk about the wonderful stewards at Canterbury? And it's a very difficult job. Yeah, I their office right down the hall from me, so I think they're the greatest stewards of all time. But I can say this about stewards in general. We watch here, and most of us are wagering on the races up here at different times. And if there's an inquiry or an objection, you'll get different opinions. There'll be Angela will be on one side, but I might be on the other. Maybe we're influenced by what we wagered on. But at the same time, they're humans. There should be rules and guidelines that they go by. But I think that also, the human judgment error can play into it as well. So I think they do the best with what they have, but are mistakes made? Of course, because they are humans. But our stewards do a very good job of looking at it. And I think the technology has improved greatly with the monitors that they have, where they can watch all the angles at one time, which is an improvement over even 5 years ago. Ago. So I think we're making advances there. I just wish there was even more transparency. And to take it one step further, Howard, I would like to see the stewards on the screen, on the monitors afterwards, explaining their decision to the public. Don't leave the announcer hanging out there to interpret what they decided. We don't have somebody making a call for an NFL referee, right? You don't walk out there and say, the referees decided that, no. Let's have a little more transparency in general.
I'm sorry, you guys are. I told you I'm all over the place. I'm trying to Vic. I'm trying to get in touch with Vic here.
Always expect the unexpected with you.
I don't know. He said he's checked. All right, I just hold on once. Angela, as I apologize, guys. As I get in touch with Vic here, your opinion now that you've seen it. Let me go ahead and see if I can bring up again what I was showing there. I'm showing the stretch run here. I'm trying to. I got to go back. But anyway, your thought as you saw. Okay, here we go. Bring it up again. Okay, your thought, Angela, as you saw that drone shot. Now, I believe for the first time as I bring it up, you have no idea how many buttons I'm pressing right now, Angela. Okay, go ahead.
I believe it.
Your thoughts, Angela. Now that you've seen the drone shot.
I can back up and echo Jeff's sentiments on the fact that in a stage like this, when people are putting that much money on either one of these horses down the stretch, that it's owed to them at least to take a look and show them what they're working with and what could possibly transpire if a change is made, or even if it's not. And I think that if they would have called one, they shouldn't have changed it one way or the other. They had long enough in the stretch to really sort things out, even if there was bumping one way or the other. I mean, unless it was just a fraction of a nostril and blazing sevens of one, maybe change it around. But I'm kind of the old school camp. Just don't change things in big stages like this, especially when they had that much time to decide the victor themselves, and leave it be.
I'll tell you what, let's, you know what I'm going to do, guys, because I don't feel like this is really fair to you right now. I'm going to put us all on pause for about 1 minute here and see. So I'm going to do a few, everyone at home, again, I really appreciate everyone's patience. I'm going to put everyone on pause. I'm going to put a banner up here because I really would like to get Vic on. We planned on this for quite a while here. So I'm going to take you guys off the screen. I'm going to put a banner on. Everyone, I'm going to go ahead and mute yourselves, guys, also, if you don't mind, Vic and Angela. And everyone just give us about 1 minute and we'll see if we can get Vic Stauffer on. This is live, the HHH Racing Podcast. Greatly appreciate everyone. We'll be right back in just a few minutes here to restart our broadcast with Vic Stauffer. Thanks, everyone. All right, we are back. Vic Stauffer is going to be coming on in just a second. So supposedly. So he got the information, and everything seems to be working on his end. And so hopefully Vic Stauffer will be coming on here. He's going to be sound only, anyone, just let you know. We're not going to be able to see his beautiful mug, but he will be coming on in just a moment. I think he is ready to come on, so let's bring him on right now. Hopefully this is going to work. Vic Stauffer, are you there? Vic Stauffer, are you there? Can we hear you, sir? Okay. Vic, I believe you should be working right now. Can you hear me, Vic?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Vic Stauffer,
I can
how
hear
are
you.
you, sir?
Hey,
How are
Howard,
you?
how are you?
Thank you for coming
Well,
on.
I am.
Sorry that you had some issues on your end.
I am so sorry. I totally flaked on being on, and I tend to do that. I think you remember last time I said, send me a message 15 minutes before, or I'll forget. And early onset. Well, I shouldn't say that. Being 64 is catching up with me.
Vic, no problem. I greatly appreciate it. We have Jeff Maday and Angela Hermann from Canterbury in the back. So Jeff and Angela, who are in the green room, I know you guys can hear me. Obviously, we're going to delay your appearance for about 10 minutes, if that's okay, just to bear with us. We greatly appreciate it. Vic, we're also going to be previewing Canterbury Park later on during this podcast. Vic, here's the first thing I want to say. First of all, thank you again for coming on. We were on our show, I believe, about a year and a half ago. You know, I have mad respect for you and really appreciate the nice comments you also gave me on Twitter regarding contest play, which we'll mention at the very end of your short appearance. But I already set the ground rules tonight for our viewers and listeners, Vic. We're not going to talk about Bob Baffert. We're not talking about having a meltdown. I only want to focus on the stretch run of the fantastic Preakness Stakes. And the reason I want to do it with you is because we had a very friendly debate on Twitter about the stretch run. And the nice thing about yourself, Vic, and I hope you feel the same way about me, is that unlike a lot of people in this country, we can completely disagree on something without being disagreeable. You can have friendly debate without being, excuse my language, a bunch of assholes. So Vic, thank you very much for coming on for this discussion.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm comfortable being an asshole too, but it's a little more complicated. I have to tell you, you deserve mad props. When you sort of drew a line in the sand when we handicapped against each other about a year and a half ago, and frankly, I thought, well, who's this whippersnapper, and why the hell does he think that he can match strides with me? And even though on that day what you said didn't necessarily pan out, you have shown yourself to be a good student and to become a force as a tournament player. And believe me, that's not something that can be faked. And I see your name on leaderboards on a fairly consistent basis. And you should hold your head high. You should be very proud because it's not easy.
Well, Vic, coming from you, I greatly appreciate it. You're a fantastic handicapper and contest player. And when we had that discussion, it was actually about the Canterbury Park, if you recall, BC, Big Ten BC. And frankly, I was an amateur when it came to contests. I've really only been playing for about 2.5 years. So those words that you just mentioned said to me, I appreciate. I've come a long way. And I'm a school teacher, Vic. So if I'm not going to listen, like I asked my students to, about learning a certain contest or game, then I'm being very hypocritical. So
it's so ironic, Howard, that the horse that we drew a line in the sand about is the horse that's ultimately won me $160,000 in the Breeders' Cup this year. It was Olympiad. And you loved him one day, and I said, I don't think he can get anywhere close. Well, without Olympiad this year, I get nothing in the BCBC. I needed him to be second.
Yeah.
And sure enough, there he was. And when he did run second, I actually, and Tyba ran third, which was the perfect result. I actually thought about you when that happened. And I was glad that you recognized Olympiad then. He wasn't as good that day as you had hoped he would be, but he damn sure showed up on the right day for me.
Well, yeah, that we had you on. We were talking about Saratoga, and do you know he lost to that day, by the way, in that race at Saratoga? He ran very well. He had about a 104 buyer, but do you know who he lost to?
I don't remember who he lost to. Right
And now I'm drawing a complete freak that only ran Baby Yoda. Sorry, Baby Yoda. He lost to at Saratoga that day when Baby Yoda ran like a 110. I don't know if you remember that. But anyway, that was a fun discussion. All right, Vic, let's get to the Preakness, okay? You and I had a friendly conversation on Twitter. We know Twitter can be a complete cesspool for a lot of reasons. And I'm not going to go on to other people's comments. What I'm going to do, and I'm assuming you have a screen handy, Vic, so you can see what we're talking about here, is I'm going to show, and I already showed everyone because we were waiting for you to come on. I showed the drone shot. Can you see the screen, Vic, right now of the podcast?
Yes, I can see the screen. I can see the drone shot.
Okay.
I'm really hoping that you also have the 7/8 pole camera, or what would be considered the traditional head-on shot. But
I don't have the head-on shot. I apologize. I do have the 84 Breeders' Cup queued up, though, because I know you want to talk about that also, Vic.
Okay.
So I do have that. So one more time, Vic, just for you. Have you seen the drone shot, by the way, view of this before?
I think I saw it once.
Okay, I'm going to show it one more time. Full speed, Vic, with no, I'll start it right now one more time. Our viewers have already seen this. I'm not going to put any sound. Of course, you got Blazing Sevens and National Treasure in a fantastic race. Obviously, there was some contact before, the bumping towards the very end of the race here inside the 16th pole. You see Johnny V and Irad going after it, and there is the race. Now, Vic, you've been a steward. You've worn many hats. And I know that you strongly believe that if Blazing Sevens, I know there's a lot of ifs here, but if Blazing Sevens had won, and there would have been an inquiry, and I know that for a fact because Johnny V was on Steve Bick's show yesterday and said there would have been, or that he would have put up objection. So I don't think that's really up for debate. I think there definitely would have been. But in your professional opinion, Vic, as a steward, as a racetrack announcer, as a bettor, whatever view you'd like to put it as, would or should have Blazing Sevens come down if he'd won the race?
100% no. He not only shouldn't have come down, he wouldn't have come down. Let's break this down like a steward would break it down, because as you said, I am a steward. I'm actually a rope level 1 accredited steward. The first thing that many race fans and handicappers don't know, and I really wish that you had the head on, because it would make the case much more dramatically. But the viewers that are watching your podcast today can go back and look at the head on. And if I really wish you had it. However, here's the first thing that people must understand about viewing a piece of film as it relates to placings. And that is this: what the jockeys are doing on the horses through the stretch is 100% completely and absolutely irrelevant. It means nothing for the purposes of placings. So when you are looking at a drone or a head-on or a pan or whatever shot it is that you're looking at, you do not look at you actually look at the horses as though there were not humans on their backs. You simply say to yourself, did this horse impede another horse from having an opportunity at a better placing? That is the criteria. Now, with regard to that, there are times that you will look at the actions of the jockeys, but that happens the next morning when you call them into film review. But I can tell you that stewards, when they look at a piece of film, they are not in any way, shape, form, or manner looking at the jockeys. They are looking at what happens with the horses. So let's try to break down this particular race. The very first thing, and there are actually 3 different incidents that happen in this race that are subject to opinion. And remember, a steward's job is entirely subjective. You follow the rule book, and the rule book will always set you free. But at the end of the day, it is subjective. You are paid to have a an experienced and knowledgeable opinion, but that's all it is. It's very different than being an umpire. An umpire, and guy tries to steal second base, he's either safe or out. In horse racing, especially when you consider that a foul is not necessarily a foul, that it could be a foul but not cost a horse an opportunity at a better placing, it makes for an extremely subjective process. Okay, there are three things that happen in this race, and one of them is one of the testaments of looking at film with regard to a steward, and that is, was there contact? And if there was contact, who initiated the contact? Okay, so what I want you to do here, Howard, is I want you to move this film up until the first time that you see these two horses actually touching each other. And you can do it in real time.
Yep. I would say, I guess you could say right there.
Right there.
Would you agree with that, Vic?
I would totally agree.
Okay.
Okay, so now we are faced with the first of our three questions. And in this particular case, there is clearly contact. So you have to ask yourself the following question. Who initiated the contact?
And I'm going to back it up, Vic, so I can go right to that point, and so
Okay.
people can see.
And
again,
before you do that, one of the ways that stewards will look at that, because horses can drift in and out,
of course,
watch the tracks or the lines in the track.
I was just going to say, yep.
So what you're going to see here is that the initial of three incidents is that contact took place, and you have to decide who initiated the contact. You're going to see in this particular part of the film, Blazing Sevens maintaining a completely straight path, and National Treasure coming out and initiating extremely slight but clear contact. And that happened right there.
Can I interject, Vic? I don't want to be, I know we're going to be interrupting each other a little bit just because we don't see each other here, but to me, and again, let's say something else, Vic, also, because we could talk about this for 5 hours. We both were involved in the contest. And I know your kind of personality and how genuine you are. And I hope you feel the same about me. Our opinions, ladies and gentlemen, listening and watching at home, have nothing, zero, to do with any past history or anything about our contest play. We are looking at this specifically in a vacuum, Vic. Can you please verify that so we don't get ridiculous comments out? Well, you're only saying that because X, Y, and Z.
That's nonsense. That's nonsense.
Right.
As much as I enjoy being a contest player, I enjoy being a steward and way more. It just doesn't pay as good.
So to me, Vic, I don't think National Treasure came out. I think National Treasure maybe an inch, and I think Blazing Sevens maybe an inch. What happened here that we're about to show, that we have already showed, to me is incidental, nothing to me. I don't think, in my opinion, Vic, that right there to me is absolutely nothing,
back,
in my opinion.
Take it back. Take it back to where you had that little gap in between the two horses.
Right about here, right?
Right about there. Okay. Do you see the space between the two horses?
Yes, sir.
Now, when you watch that space go away to where there is no space, ask yourself the following question. Who filled the space? Which horse filled the space in between the two horses? And I think that you're going to see that National Treasure will come out right there and fill that space. In this particular part of the film, Blazing Sevens is running dead ass balls on straight. And National Treasure did come out and initiate slight and very incidental contact right there. Blazing Sevens couldn't have been running straighter.
I'm not going to, again, we're going to move on with the show, Vic. I'm not going to disagree with you. Maybe National Treasure came out a hair, but we see that in every single race, and that's just
no doubt.
We agree that now, to me, what happens next is my main point, and I'm going to let you, sort of run our conversation, Vic, because I know how strongly you feel. But just before we talk about the second of three issues that you previously mentioned, to me, this is where Blazing Sevens was absolutely at fault and egregious, in my opinion, or IRAD. So I'm gonna let it run, and then you can talk as it goes. From this point forward, I think this is all Blazing Sevens, who bumps him there and is hurting and bumps in again. To me, that is much more egregious. Vic Stauffer, what do you say?
Well, the word egregious that's a stretch. I would say that in this particular case, it is a little bit of an optical illusion. And the point that I'm making, Howard, and this is why I believe that there wouldn't have been a change, is you have these two horses that are effectively in about the 3 or 3.5 path.
Okay.
And now they end up in the 2 path. And so it's very easy for a person to say, well, if they were in the center in the 3.5 path, and now they're in the 2 path, it has to be the fault of the outside horse because he's going from the 3.5 over to the 2. But the reason why this is a little bit, in my personal opinion, of an optical illusion is until such time as contact is made, a horse can go wherever the hell he wants to go. He can go in the 3, he can go in the 33, he can go in any path he chooses. However, once again, yes, Blazing Sevens is coming towards National Treasure. But when the actual contact takes place, which is going to be right there.
And it happens again right there.
Correct.
Okay.
But the second part of it we're going to talk about because that's when we're going to get into tipping.
Okay.
But Blazing Sevens goes from, right now he's in the 3.5.
Yeah.
Right now he's in the 2. But again, when they get together, watch the gap. And you see there, National Treasure, at least 50-50, contributes to that right there. Even though Blazing Seven started in the 3.5 and he ends up in the 2, National Treasure is going to come out right there. And so, so that makes it, that part of it makes it 50-50, or maybe you could say for 55-45 Blazing Sevens. But that right there in no way, shape, form, or manner would have caused a disqualification. Because, and I'm going to sort of belie what I said, but watch Johnny V tap this horse on his left shoulder. Right there.
Mm-hmm.
And that caused him to actually close that gap again. Now remember, a horse can go wherever the hell he wants until such time as contact is made. So the reason why this looks like, and you use a word like egregious, is because Blazing Seven starts in the 3.5 and ends up in the 2, where National Treasure starts in the 1 3/4 and ends up in the 2. But at the end of the day, when they come together in the 2, they came together mutually. Maybe a tiny bit more outside than inside. But back it up one more time, Howard, because I want you to see, I want you to back it up and watch the gap in between the 2 horses.
I don't know if I think I went too far. Hold on.
Now, okay, and now
you're talking about. Sorry, you're talking about right here, and then the next few seconds, correct, Vic?
Now ask yourself: is it entirely outside, or does inside come out a little bit too? And right there, inside comes out as much as outside. I truly believe that. What inside did before they made contact, Howard, does not matter. What inside went from 3.5 to 2, but when they actually touched each other, they were outside was at 2 1/4, inside was at 1 3/4, and they got together at 2.
Okay.
What happened before that is irrelevant.
Okay.
So I believe even there, and I could make a much better case with this by looking by showing the actual head on. I think you see it much clearer there.
Okay. Vic,
okay.
Vic, I'm sorry. Jeff and Angela are waiting in the background, and we only have a few more minutes. I hate to cut you short, Vic, but we got off to a little bit of a late start, so I don't mean to be disrespectful.
You're
Can I
not.
just give my opinion of what we just talked about, Vic, and then I want to talk about for 1 minute the very end of the race where I thought there was another, I won't say just another wrongdoing, let's just say, by IRAD and Blazing Sevens, and then we'll for 30 seconds talk about our contest play in the last race, and we'll let you go. Vic, here's my opinion. And again, just my opinion. I will admit, you obviously have more experience with this. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say I know more than you. That's completely ridiculous. But, I've watched a lot of races over the years. And here's my feeling, Vic. And this is nothing against IRAD. Clearly, I think it's absolutely clearly, IRAD comes over not once, but twice. And coming over, not a big deal. I agree with you. But clearly bumped National Treasure twice and was forcing Johnny V into the rail. And because he was forcing him closer and closer to the rail, Johnny V, who is as classy as they come, we'd all agree with that, said, listen, you can't intimidate me. I've got to at least show some resistance, not purposely come over, Vic, just not allow IRAD to continue to send him into the rail. So any slight movement in my opinion, by Johnny V and National Treasure was to prevent or not allow IRAD to continue to let him go over into the rail. And my big issue, Vic, is there was clear contact by IRAD. It happened twice, Vic. I think.
Where's the second time it happened?
Well, I know your second. The second time, I know you think it was mutual. You and I are just gonna have to disagree on that. That's okay. We can disagree on it. But I think this whole thing was initiated by IRAD trying to intimidate and come over, which is okay. You can show a horse, to another horse, no problem. But the contact to me and the continually veering in and forcing him closer and closer to the rail, that's where I have an issue. Go ahead, Vic.
So you're saying the second contact was the first contact was the one that we saw at the beginning, and then we just looked at the second contact where IRAD came in, or are you talking about he comes in again nearer the wire?
No. So there's three. I agree. There's three aspects. The first one we talked about where we both think it was pretty much a nothing burger.
Okay, good. So you're saying the first one was a wash.
Right. The second sequence we just watched, I think there were two bumps in the second sequence. They're both caused by IRAD intimidating unnecessarily and coming over. That's just
all right. Do me one more favor. Take it back and stop it. Stop it as close as you can to when there is still some space between the two horses.
Okay, so let me just right there. That's clearly IRAD. Clearly.
Now go back and stop it when you can see racetrack between the two horses.
For the first bump that
for the second bump.
Okay, so okay, no problem. So here's the first bump. Okay, I'll freeze it right there, I'd say, right? And he comes over again, Vic, doesn't he?
Well, now we're going to start talking about tipping. But but all right. Once again, Howard, go back and freeze it when you can see that there's some space between the horses. It's about 3 strides back from where you are right now.
Oh, you want me to go further back? Right there?
Yeah. Well, if you can go a little bit more, but stop it. Okay.
I went further. You tell me when to stop, Vic. Just tell you say stop.
Stop. Back just a frame or two. Okay.
How about right there? This is before the first bump.
Okay. This is to the second time that they touch each other. Or
Correct.
Is this the first time?
No, this is the first time they touch.
Go up and make it and show the space in between.
Sorry, hold on.
Right before the second.
I'm trying to make sure that I get it right here. Okay, that was the first time they touch each other, right? So right there is about the space you're referring to. Go ahead. They're about to touch for the first time, Vic.
Okay, go up right before they're about to touch for the second time.
Okay, no problem. So here's the touch for the first, and I'd say about right there, I'd say, approximately.
Oh, I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying. There's 3 times that they touch. The one that we thought was a wash.
Yes.
Then the second one, which we're debating, and then the third one we haven't even started talking about yet.
Oh, see, I think there was a fourth one. I think he bumps him here, Vic. I think he bumps him there again. Okay. And then I think there's something at the end, right there. IRAD is leaning over into Johnny Velasquez. But you're saying
why
that doesn't
is he
matter.
leaning? Okay, there's a very good. Why is he leaning over into him?
Because he's trying to intimidate Johnny V and the horse. That's
No,
why.
he's doing that because his horse has been knocked off balance.
I disagree. But that right there, you think he's off balance?
No, not right there.
here?
Not
You
right
think-
there.
You think he's off balance, Blazing Sevens or IRAD? Is that
Not right there, but when they touch, both riders and both ass ends of the horses go off balance. What? Right there.
Yeah, but with all due respect, Vic, IRAD is leaning over in the saddle.
He's
trying to bring
leaning
the
over,
horse.
Howard, because the ass end of his, look where the ass end of his horse is. The
Yeah.
ass end of his horse is covering half of National Treasure's ass end. Right there. So you have, the reason he's leaning over is because his center of gravity is off.
Okay.
Okay. Now, again, I think what you're consumed here by is that he started in the 3.5. And I'm not saying once horses like that, especially at the end of a mile and 3/16 that are extremely tired, once they start bouncing off each other, there's no way to get your center of gravity back. And so that last 50 yards or so, both riders are leaning towards each other because they've done what's called tip each other.
Okay.
They've
Hey,
not
Vic, we got about sorry, Rick, we got about 1 minute. I got to be respectful of the Canterbury people. So we got literally, I'm not going to be able to show the 84 Breeders' Cup. Rick, I'd love to have you on another time. We can absolutely talk about this. But go ahead and make your tipping point, and then I'm going to have to bring them on.
Well,
sorry to do that.
The point about tipping is when a horse contacts another horse, or if the contact is mutual, it will, whichever way your horse is knocked. If you've ever been walking aside somebody, and they kind of shove you, which way does your head go? And which way does your balance go? It goes back towards that other person.
Right.
So when you see IRAD basically touching Johnny, it's because he and his horse's center of gravity has been knocked off stride. And the way that you get it is by going towards the person that tipped you off. The classic example of that is Gate Dancer, Wild Again, and Slew of Gold in the first Breeders' Cup Classic. Everybody on the planet knew that Wild Again was coming down, but he didn't come down because Gate Dancer initiated contact and caused him to tip out.
Right.
And I respect Angela as well, so I'll shut up.
Okay. Well, Jeff and Angela, I'm going to bring you. Vic, do you mind if I bring on Jeff and Angela for just a minute of the four of us, and then we can end? Is that all right, Vic? Well,
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
So Jeff and Angela, this is a heated debate. I appreciate your patience. Let's bring on Jeff Maday and Angela Hermann one more time. And we have, say hello to Vic Stauffer, by the way, Jeff and Angela.
Hey, Vic.
Hi, Vic.
Hey, Angela. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Just getting ready for live and listening to the heated debate between the two of you. You guys needed a couple of hours.
Well,
what do you guys think? Do you guys agree with me or Howard?
Now I don't know. Vic.
Yeah,
you know what though?
Come on, we're wishy-washy. We're from
point
Minnesota.
Hey, by the way, you guys, to be truthful, I do have the delete button on if you disagree with me, Angela and Jeff. Just kidding. Go ahead.
I think Vic's explanation, whether Vic was right or not, is what racing needs. That's what we need from a steward. Explain to the public what the decision was. That goes back to what I was saying before, Howard. I don't know whether he was right or wrong. And Vic started out by saying it's subjective. But he had good reason for the decision that he's making here. And I think that's what's important to racing. And that should be what we strive to get to, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. If you have a set of standards and what you hold as your rules, then as long as you stay consistent to that, that's exactly what we need. And I think if I was on a jury, I'd probably be swayed towards Vic, but he made very good points, as Jeff said, for his opinion on the matter.
And it's not my rules, it's the rule book.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But yeah, okay.
Well, Vic, listen, I thank you for coming on. We really appreciate your insight. We'll have you on again. I also just want to for the record in front of everyone, I want to wish you much success in your retirement. You were an unbelievable track announcer. You've done a lot of things in this game. You know, I have mad respect for you as a contest player, racetrack announcer, blah, blah, blah. So good luck to you, to Tina and Queenie and all the people in your life. And we'd love to have you on again, Vic. Thanks for joining the show.
Thank you. I'm going to start doing a lot more blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Take care, Vic. Have a great
All
night.
the best.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, Vic.
All right. Again, I apologize, guys, for going on so long. But listen, when you get going, let me change the background a little bit here too. When you get going with these things, I'll just say I always told Vic, so I'm just gonna end with this. He knows it because I said it on air. I completely disagree with him. I just think that is what we don't need. We don't need intimidation on the track by a jockey who unnecessarily, in my opinion, came over twice. And then we didn't show that. Well, we showed the end where he's like leaning over Jeff into Johnny V. Look, I think it was clear, but I'm not a steward, so I don't know. Anyway, and now as I do that, I got a little blurry. Okay, this has been one hell of a show. All right, let's get into Canterbury, guys. How about that, Angela? I'm gonna. I'll tell you what, because you guys have been so patient.
That?
What's that?
How do we follow that?
I have no idea. But anyway, I was going to talk to you guys one bit at a time, but I think we'll just talk to you both at the same time, if that's okay with you. And hopefully we'll clear up this. There we go. So thanks for your patience. And whenever you guys need to go, you just let me know. But I was going to talk to you guys separately. We'll do this together. Canterbury Park, one of my favorite places in the world, open Saturday, guys. We're very excited about it, the 2023 meet. I'm just going to alternate questions, and you guys can piggyback off each other if you like. Jeff, please, and I have the media guide available, Jeff, as I switch over to that part of the show. Or I did have the media guide, and everything's all flustered here. Talk about the Canterbury 2023, when it starts, and talk about the racing dates first.
We start Saturday night. We'll have a 54-day season that will run through September 16th. So to start the meet, we will, with Memorial Weekend, we'll run Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Once we get into the heart of the race season, though, we'll run Wednesday nights at 5, Saturdays at 5 Central, Sundays at 1. And when we get to, I believe, July 13th, we'll run 6 consecutive Thursdays as well. So that'll get us to those 54 days. But and we'll run for about $220,000 a day in purse money, which is what the Minnesota HBPA wanted. And that's how we got to the 54 days. But I think it's a good schedule. It allows that exposure on Wednesdays to the national crowd, as well as Saturday nights, which were really strong last year. And the Sunday kind of lets us keep those fans, the fans that are so important to us. So I think it's the best of what we could do. And I'm happy with the schedule.
And you're starting a little bit later this year than normal, right, Jeff?
We are, and that came down to the cutting 10 days from last year. But we also, if you noticed, if you looked at the Saturday card, we start the meet with a turf race. We used to wait about a week or 2 weeks when we started earlier on Derby Day or the week after or on Preakness. We might wait a week or two before we actually got on a turf. We're starting the meet on the grass, which is one of our strengths. That's the one thing we have that a lot of tracks in the Midwest don't have, is a turf course.
We got Minnesota Horse Racing coming down below. Yes, at the Minnesota Horse Racing team is excited for Canterbury. We got a lot of people. Again, I just want to apologize to everyone out there who was waiting patiently for our Canterbury discussion. That was not my plan. But Vic, frankly, he forgot about it. And well, you heard from him already. So
once the gate opens, Howard, it's out of your hands. That's what this was.
There we go. Angela, you guys are racing on Saturdays again, which has definitely helped the handle. And it's because it's a little bit later. You don't, are bucking heads with the Saratogas and with some of the bigger tracks out there. Credit to the management for finding a space in the racing days that matter most to people, where you guys can get the attention you deserve.
Well, for years and years, we ran Thursday through Sunday. And I think that the force by, the pandemic and other factors to try different days of the week and see what resonated with the local crowd, what resonated with the national crowd, and where to find that in between. I think that Jeff hit the nail on the head, especially with Saturday nights. You don't know how that's going to go if everybody's worn out from their day or if they won a lot and want to keep going. And it's really worked out well, especially when we stack some of the turf races towards the beginning of the card. And like you mentioned, we start off with a turf race in the meet. And there's just some different elements of Canterbury that, when slotted into those times, are unique, even in comparison with some of the other tracks that run at those times.
And Jeff, as we talk about the handle, and let me bring up the exciting information from 2022. Again, believe it or not, I had everything completely planned wonderfully, and now things got a little bit haywire. But I'm going to recover, guys, and prove everyone my salt here. You can see this is from the media guide. Let me just go bigger. You can see, if you want to talk about a little bit what people can read on the screen here about a great 2022, Jeff Maday.
We did. We had a record handle, and you can see there 97 million last year. But the key to that was that 1.5 million daily average, which we're not going to hit 97 million this year because we're running fewer days, but we're going to strive to surpass the 1.5 million. And I think if we can continue, and you look at the opening day card, we've got 8 horses per race, a little bit over 8. That's going to be hard to maintain. But I think that it's a good signal here that the horses are here. Maybe that extra week that they were given, starting a week later, is a reason for that. But if we can maintain that sort of average, I think we can surpass the 1.5 million. And the racing is competitive. It was a bit chalky. I'm not going to deny that. The Oracle, our friend Bruce Meyer, I think he told me 41% favorites last year.
Wow.
But the national average, I think, is going up as well. There's a lot of meets that are approaching that number too. But we also had some nice payouts and big pools. So I think if you're, you can't always find the long shot. A lot of people, bemoan the fact we want long shots. Well, most of the time you're not going to find them, right? Unless you hit the all button. So I think, a well-placed favorite in a sequence can still pay you well.
I know the Gorgomatic is not afraid to hit the all ball once in a while for sure. Kevin Gorg, or our good buddy Jay Litzow, of course, who does a great job with the Star Tribune. I'm assuming they're going to be covering Canterbury again as well, Angela. That's more a question for Jeff, but.
Well, I mean, we're both going to be back, and yeah, everybody in the band is at this point still on board. So even though there are some other changes in the mix, that one will remain the same. Paul is still on the mic calling the races. Kevin and I are still sharing duties as far as on-air hosting, whether it be the handicapping side or some of the rather silly sometimes promotions we have. Jay's still doing the paper, and Jeff runs the whole show.
Yep, Gorg to the hoop, says Corey. Angela, we've got some very exciting specific days of racing. You have the Northern Stars Turf Festival. You have the Minnesota Festival of Champions. I'll show on the screen here. The Open Company Big Day, as you can see on the screen, is Wednesday, June 21st. As you know, yours truly was up there 2 years ago. It was a great day. And thank you again to Jeff and everyone up there for having me. Hopefully we'll do it again at some point. Not sure about this year because I'm going to the Belmont and a few other things. But great day of open company racing. It looks like I'm a mathematician, so let's see, 300, 400, about $450,000 of stakes purses there, Angela, for an awesome card on Wednesday, the 21st of June.
It's usually a pretty awesome card because of the timing. I mean, things have moved around with this particular night, but the timing we found is good for horses that end off with a lot of the meets that end in May and don't necessarily have a good fitting spot until some of the later summer races. So you see a lot of names that you wouldn't typically see at Canterbury, and that was the goal. And I think even if they send horses for one race, they might figure throw another horse in, bring them all up there because they're already going to send and they're already going to have a van going this way. And you do end up with a really good night of racing and really, really good pools at a good time. And at that time of night too, your options can be limited as far as those kinds of races, but it really stands out in that respect.
And of course, you got the great Minnesota Festival of Champions later there on August 12th, I believe. Yeah, on August 12th. And is that right? Right, it's August 12th? Yeah. And I remember, let me put us on screen here. Paul Allen said that's his favorite day of the year. He said that last year. I rewatched our show from last year because I tried to do my homework. He said that's his favorite racing day of the entire year, the Minnesota Festival of Champions, with some really good Minnesota breds, especially recently, like Mr. Jägermeister. And of course, we can talk about Hotshot Kid in a moment, who, if he wins Saturday, I believe will become the all-time winningest Minnesota bred. So these Minnesota breds can run. The Alligator Hunter, by the way, won on the NHC day. So I was fortunate enough, guys, to beat the NHC in Vegas this year as a contestant. I was happy to get in the top 50. I was so mad at myself. The Alligator Hunter was like 18-1, guys. I don't know if you remember that race, remember hearing about it. But one beat a real, I think, was a Chessmaster, a real nice Chessmaster. And I'm like, you know what? I love this horse. I should just, use one of my contest plays on him. I didn't do it, Angela, and he won it like 18-1, and I love this horse. Anyway, there's really good Minnesota breds too out there that people need to recognize.
Yeah, I recall that day fondly. And they're at Tampa. A lot of the ones that you see at Tampa are from the Alligator Hunters owner, Pete Matson. And the Alligator Hunter will face off against Dr. Oscar, who's also put himself into some pretty deep water and has done pretty well for himself, even at big prices. So I'm looking forward to his homecoming and to see how they all stack up. Even though the 10,000 Lakes isn't at the capacity field size wise as the female counterpart, the Lady Slipper, there's a lot of quality in there, including both of those horses. And I'm really looking forward to watching both of the stakes, but to see how they return up here in Minnesota.
Yeah. Jeff, let's talk about some changes. I believe was the main track redone, I believe. If that's not correct, I apologize. And then also there are things that are going on literally outside of the track at the amphitheater, etc. Talk a little about some changes being made within and a new sign I saw on Twitter, right? A new sign for that's gonna be outside of Canterbury Park. Is it up yet, guys?
The new sign's not up yet. Hopefully,
not quite yet.
It's always tomorrow. You know how that is. But the track surface, it's the same track surface. There's been some material added to it, but what's different is the new track superintendent, Javier Barrera, who worked at Arlington at one point. He worked at Keeneland. He was the track man in Dubai for a number of years. He did a short stint at Canterbury, probably 6-7 years ago. Angela might remember better, but he's back now. He's one of the top trackmen in the country. So I think he may change the surface. It might be a little bit deeper than it had been before. There you go, the 10% takeout pick 5. You're right about the development, though. When the Sampsons and Dale Shenian bought this track in 1994, and when the track had been closed down and brought live racing back in 95, it was a huge property surrounded by nothing. Since then, the community's grown around us, but it had been originally zoned when the Downs opened as an entertainment district, but it never came to fruition. It took us a while. This was our 29th season as Canterbury Park, but we've begun in, I believe it was 2018, we had a TIF referendum passed that allowed us to start this redevelopment and some new development as well. So when you come out here, Howard, and you haven't been here for a couple of years, I mean, we're surrounded by development, by housing, by office space, by restaurants. There's going to be a 19,000 capacity amphitheater on the south or on the northeast corner of the property. So I think all those things will help Canterbury as a business thrive, and I think it'll feed racing. But we also are making improvements on the backside as well. We just are about to open a new dormitory building. We didn't get the new barn built, not because we didn't want to. The parts are sitting over in another parking lot because we have them. But there was some zoning laws in the state that were changed that have hampered numerous projects. So we're gonna build some new barns. We're reinvesting the money that we received for selling that property into the backstretch infrastructure. So there's exciting things here, and I think our future can be strong. I believe in that.
Jeff, I don't want to make a promise to you guys or anyone publicly. We'll talk off air. I'm going to try to make it to the 21st of June. I'm going to try to make it to the Northern Stars Surf Festival. If you guys would have me, we'll talk off air. But I'd love to come back again. Angela, let's talk about some of the jockey and trainer situations. And I have to be very honest and transparent. I did not have time to do research on who's coming back and who's not. I couldn't find a lot of information. And Jeff, that's not a slap at you at all. I'm just not aware of it. So let me go ahead and bring up first the jockeys from last year and the jockey standings. Here's the jockey standings. Wonderful smile of Harry Hernandez. What a year he had. 78 wins last year, 20% win percentage, almost 1.8 million in earnings. Luis Fuentes second, Lindy Wade, who's been a mainstay there for years, as well as Quinones and Raya Eccleberry, very close there in the mid 40s. And you see a bunch of others, including Kelsey Haar, who continues to improve and be an excellent jockey. Who she also raced at Oaklawn, of course, and she's becoming an established national figure as well. Who of these jocks are coming back for sure, and who will be a force in 2023? And some new names also, Angela.
Harry is back. In fact, I saw him a few days ago. He has returned with another excellent winter down at Turf Paradise. He is back. Lindy Wade, out of his short retirement, is also back. Alonso Quinones will be joining us again. Kelsey Haar, like you mentioned. Constantino Roman. Even the very first race of the meet is a good blend of some of the old faces that we have here that we've seen before and some of the new faces. Now, Erica Murray is going to be joining us for her first meet up here. Alfredo Barajas and Carlos Ulloa. He's going to be here he's going to be up here, at least for right now. He's on some Joel Burt horses. And we see all three of them make their Canterbury debut for this season in the first race of the meet. Now, there's not a bunch of new trainers like that in the first, but we see the name Carmichael on the outside with Alonso Quinones teamed up with one of the meet's usual forces in the Jocks colony. So some new shakeups, and I'd be curious as to Jeff's take on everybody and who he thinks will fit in where and excel at what. But I think that you're going to see some of these new names come in and do very well for themselves. Maybe with some of the old barns that we've seen a lot that have had their usual riders not return. Ryan Eccleberry's retired. There's going to be some shaking up of things. And I would love Jeff's take on how he thinks that exactly is going to pan out.
It'll be tough to beat Harry. Howard, I don't know if Harry's agent is Scott Stevens, who was a Canterbury Hall of Famer. He rode forever, older brother of Gary Stevens. But Scott works as hard at being an agent as he did when he was a rider. You don't see him hanging around the bar like you see a lot of others, and I'm not going to name names. But he's at home. He watches the races at home and gets ready for the next day. He's got Harry on 24 of the 26 races on opening weekend. I mean, this came to work. Scott does not mess around, and he expects a lot from Harry, and Harry delivers. So it's going to be tough to beat Harry. Lindy is fantastic. As Ange mentioned, no Ryan Eccleberry. He did retire, but Zeke Lara is back. He was a great addition last year. Long shot rider, brought in a lot of prices. So I think we've got a top to bottom, a strong colony, and that's important if you're an owner, Howard. If you're number 9 in a race and there's really only 8 good jockeys, that doesn't make you excited about owning racehorses. I think you can go easily 12 deep in our colony and not lose a lot of quality as far as the riders go, and that's important if you're a racehorse owner, because who wants to send? You don't want a guy that's no good, right? You just don't. Doesn't do you any good to send a horse out with a rider who's going to cost you 5 lengths. So I'm excited about that. Also the trainers as well. We had a battle with Mac Robertson and Joel Burnt. They're both loaded. Absolutely. Each of them have 21 horses in over opening weekend. So they both came to fire. And I think they'll draw clear of the others most likely just because they've got the most firepower.
And did you want to touch about the trainer standings? Any new trainers that you're aware of? Is Diodoro going to have a string there, for example, etc.? And Broberg?
Yeah, he does. He does have some horses in here, and most of those names that you see on that list are going to be back in the fold. And we do see a handful of new names opening day. I mean, Lacey DeShazo, Edgar Espinosa, like we mentioned in the first race. Juan Gutierrez has horses here. There's going to be some new names thrown into the mix, but I think that you might see maybe less horses from the Diodoro camp, but you'd still see a good comparable number from a lot of the names that you saw on that list, and especially in the Minnesota breds. I mean, a lot of those barns hold that as one of their strengths, so you still will see a presence from a lot of those names.
And in case there are people at home wondering, well, I don't like to bet Canterbury, it's smaller fields, or I don't know the trainers and jockeys or whatever, there's a horse named Two Phils that won at Canterbury last year. Last time I checked, he's had a pretty good 3-year-old campaign so far, guys.
Well, a lot of allegiances follow Two Phils around. I know Chicago has an even bigger allegiance than we do, but everybody was pretty excited about seeing Two Phils and the way that he performed in the Derby. And Jeff, I don't know if you were down in the winner's circle. I know that there were a handful of people from Canterbury that were watching it down there and could speak to the atmosphere when they saw him with the legit shot that he had to win turning for home. So fun to watch him and fun to see what comes of the future. But I mean, we've had a presence in a couple of those Triple Crown races this year. Not always happening for Canterbury.
Oh, pretty cool. Really, really cool. And Jareth Loveberry, when the years that he rode here a couple of seasons, was a leading rider in his first meet. Just a great guy, Howard. And might be a good guest for you sometime. I mean, you could Jareth on.
He would be.
He's a straight shooter. He's not gonna. He's just a good guy, and that's what made it fun. Is that someone that that you really appreciate the way they go about their business. Had a legitimate shot to win the Kentucky Derby. Just crazy.
I do have some connections to Larry Rivalli, not him personally, but people around him that know him well. So that's definitely a possibility. I don't know if you guys know, but I had my first ever appearance live at the Kentucky Derby this year. I was there with a media credential. It was absolutely, there was a whole show on it. You guys can watch it if you want, but I was part of the walkover with the horses. I mean, guys, for someone like me, I know you're in the business and you're around it all the time, and I guess I'm in the business, but just to go in the walkover, guys, walk over with the horses in front of 150,000, it was a bucket list. It was absolutely amazing. I mean, I was right next to Tappa Trice and Two Phils as they were walking, with the handlers and whatever on their way to be saddled. I mean, it was completely surreal. So that was a really neat experience. There's two other things I want to talk about, guys, and we'll let you go. And again, I appreciate you staying on a little bit past my bedtime or later than we were supposed to. Promotions. Canterbury Park, as you guys know, or anyone that knows Canterbury Park, is so family friendly and does an unbelievable job of promoting for the public. We've talked about this before, especially with Paul Allen, that Minnesota is not your typical horse racing state, right? I mean, and the fans of Canterbury come out in droves and are very dedicated. I'm going to show on the screen for the media guide the promotions. Either one of you can touch on anything you like on this screen that you think viewers and listeners at home, whether they live in Minnesota or not, might be interested in. Jeff, we'll have you go first.
Well, you can see the English Bulldog racing, Wiener Dog racing, Corgi racing, and they work, Howard. Those are promotions that work, and we've seen other tracks, do the same thing. They've seen us do it, and they do it. But and we get asked a lot by a lot of the hardcore players, well, why are you doing this? Or we're not coming out that day because a healthy racetrack requires attendance, especially a healthy racetrack that doesn't have slot machines, right? But we need these fans to come. We need the 15,000, 18,000 people that come out for the fireworks, that come out for the Corgi races, that pay admission, that they keep people working, they keep our racetrack healthy. So it's important. I think the horsemen that understand the need for a healthy racetrack also understand that. Yeah, is it inconvenient at times? You got longer times between races. There's things going on for sure. But they also understand that it's necessary. It's necessary for Canterbury, and it's one of the reasons that against all odds, we're still open. I always tell the story, Howard. I was hired here. I used to work on the backside, took a job on the front side when we reopened in '94 for simulcasting. I tell people, I'm working at Canterbury. They'd say, well, what are you going to do next year? And here I am 29 years later, I'm still here. So, and that's because we were willing to try some of the things that no one else was. So it's fun. We have a great time. And Ange loves calling those promotions as well. She gets out there and those breeder dog races, phenomenal.
The casino chips are also still there, by the way, as Ralph County points out. The casino chips on your wall, Jeff. Listen, if you want to have some fun, go onto YouTube and just type in Corgi Races Canterbury Park. If you want to talk about a guy that enjoys that, Paul Allen gets into those as much as anything, and I just love watching those. But Angela, I'll tell you what I'm interested in. On my birthday is the food truck. Where is it? I got to find it now. What do you guys have here? Food? The food truck festival on I might have to make a trip up to Canterbury on my birthday just for that, because I love to eat, Angela. I can tell you that.
Yeah, just about every kind of food, every breed of dog, any kind of furry creature that we can incorporate outside of horses. We try to bring it into the mix because, like Jeff said, we have to appeal to a diverse and vast home crowd. So there's a little something for the adults that want to have an adults night, a lot for kids that have the families that want to come out and make a day of it at the track. And yeah, it will make for a different broadcast, but it'll get your attention. I mean, whether you're here or whether you're watching it somewhere else, you're not going to see too many days at Saratoga where you see llamas and unicorns hanging out in the stretch, but you get that here. So,
and from what I understand, Jeff and Paul might have a little side wager on a Corgi or two. I heard that's happened in the past. By the way, Heinz Buck Sandcastle, try the casino level pasta. I can speak to that. It's really good. I've had it. Actually, I think the Oracle treated me for dinner when I was up there 2 years ago, if I recall, to that pasta at the casino level. So Simon wants to see the alpacas racing. Is that going to happen?
Get us a phone number of an alpaca farmer and we'll get them.
Right. Racing alpacas welcome.
Guys, here's how I want to end the show. And again, I apologize and also appreciate your patience. Let's talk about contests, Jeff, or anything that the handicapper would really be interested in. And Angela, you can mention on some of the horizontal wagers that are available, because some of these horizontal wagers are very difficult in a good way. You got big fields on the turf, and there have been some contests in the past, Jeff, for contest players to go to the NHC or BCBC. Angela, let's have you start first. Horizontal wagering and the types of the wagering menu that you think people are interested in most at Canterbury this summer.
Well, the ones that interest me the most are the ones that we've looked at the last couple of years, especially the post-time pick 4, because what you mentioned with the turf, just naturally we can put more turf races towards the front of the card, and that's a 10% takeout wager. Jeff and I will always mention that before the day goes on, maybe try to lead you in the right direction with that. But that one is the one that I tend to focus my attention on the most, or the pick 5 at the end, 10% takeout on that as well. But those are the sorts of things that I guess I look individually at each sequence, and there's not any one that is my favorite, but that's the good part about having multiple wagers at that takeout. If you like one part of the card or the other, you can find something that's gambler friendly that would fit for you, and that's it for me.
Yeah, the pick 4s are great. I'm a horizontal bettor, Angela. I found them quite difficult. You know what's weird? Sometimes either they're chalky and I have to press up 3 or 4 times, or they pay
Yeah.
thousands. I mean, it's really fascinating betting puzzle, those pick 4s. Jeff, contests, anything you'd like to promote to maybe players that are interested in that angle?
Oh, absolutely. We've been doing contests here for a long time, well, 30 years, I guess. So, but this year we're teaming up again with ExpressBet. They'll offer feeder contests pretty much every Wednesday, a $40 feeders that'll get you into a $300 contest that moves you along to a $2,000 contest on September 13th. And that one will award BCBC entries and NHC entries, and essentially no takeout. We'll pay back everything that we take in. It's going to be $1,000 entry fee, $1,000 live bankroll, similar to what has become fairly popular with the Win Play Show, Exacta, Trifecta, double wagers offered. I think we can build some momentum with these feeders, especially on the Wednesday nights, and get enough people in there where it could be a really, I think, a lucrative contest for the player. And you've had success, that first year we offered the Big Ten, you parlayed that into a victory in the BCBC. So that was pretty cool. But I like what Vic said about your contest plays, that you can't hide it, right? When I look up the leaderboard, if you've got 0, you've got 0. Doesn't mean you're a terrible handicapper. I always say if you get 0, that means you tried to win. But it's an honest endeavor, because you're right out there, and some people can't handle that they. The guys, they have every trifecta. They have the pick 5 when it's it carried over. They'll tell you they hit the pick 5. So some people can't handle that scrutiny. You can. You've done extremely well, and I know we'll see your name on our leaderboard at some point.
Well, thanks, Jeff. I'm an all or nothing guy, and I've learned from some very smart people like Matt Miller, if you know that name, who's the 2021 BCBC champ, who's highly involved in contests. When you see my name on a leaderboard, Jeff and Angela, it'll either be at the top or the bottom. It's either going to be 0 or somewhere near the top, because I don't play for 6th, 7th, 8th place. I try to get in the top 3 or just go home. To me, that's for me at least, and for I think for a lot of people, if you're going to put in a certain amount of money, you might as well try to, go big or go home, in my personal opinion. A lot of people don't do that, and that's absolutely fine. I'm not here to tell people what to do with their money. That's none of my business. But when you're offering great prizes, Jeff and Angela, the only way to do that is to go with an opinion. And so that's what you got to do. Jim Pilar's from Buffalo. Come on, horse racing fans. Let's support tracks like Canterbury. Have these low takeout wagers. Absolutely. I know, credit to my good friend Jim Miller at Hawthorne. They have low takeouts, and a lot of these mid-level tracks are great. Jeff and Angela, we've been chatting for a while, and we were already way past the time we were going to go. I'll let you guys finish with any conversation that you want. If you want to tip out someone, Angela, perhaps on opening day or one of the stake races, or Jeff, if there's something that we've missed that we were planning to talk about, I'll let you guys each have a thought as we end the show tonight.
And you go first.
Well, I'm looking forward to the stakes races like we talked about earlier. I don't think that there'll be prices abound in there, but I am looking forward to another horse later in the night named Allotrope in race number 4, who's going to be making her first start. You might know her, Howard. She made her first 2 starts at Hawthorne, and now she's going to come up to Minnesota. So if you're looking for something to go along with the 10,000 Lakes, you don't see much of a price in there. I don't. You want to look for something in that sequence that you can hone in on. Could be her. That's what I like.
Is that a Joel Byrne train or no?
Yes. Yep. Race 4 of the 4, Allotrope.
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
You know how it goes, Angela. Sometimes you've handicapped a million races. You've been on TV. It's like, I know this name. I think I know the trainer. I can't remember who I met yesterday, Angela, but like golf courses and horses, somehow you have that weird synapse in your brain that you remember stuff. I don't know how. Okay. Jeff Maday, anything that you'd like to mention to our great fans and viewers out there, who, by the way, have doubled since you guys been on the show? We've exploded, and there are a lot of people that are watching live tonight and will watch this show later on this week.
Well, I would just say that we're fortunate to have the fans that we do. And if you haven't played Canterbury, give us a try. I think you'll find the racing to be challenging, rewarding at times as well. And you look at our handicappers. Look at Angela's picks. You'll find her on Twitter. You'll find her on our website. Same thing with Kevin Gorg, Jay Litzow in the Star Tribune. We've got really dedicated handicappers that are also playing the game. They're not just putting out picks to meet a deadline or something. These are selections that they're playing. And if you've got a complaint, email me, call me, whatever. I always answer the phone. I always answer my emails, unless you're completely uncivil, then maybe I don't.
You will anyway.
A valid complaint is always accepted. So just let us know. But we're here to enjoy the experience with the horse player and the racing fan as well. So just give us a shot if you haven't.
Guys, I'm not saying this because Angela's on the show, because she knows how I feel about her. She's an excellent handicapper. You've seen her before on Gulfstream and other places. Angela, what's your handle so people can win some money this summer? Your Twitter handle.
My Twitter handle is @AngelaHermann, just as it's spelled on the screen, 15 afterwards. And I will be tweeting more this summer. I know that I did from Gulfstream a bit more, but I'm going to be in a lot more places at Canterbury. So join along, see if I can't make you some money with some observations on track that you can't get in the form.
I'll be listening, guys. So Jeff Maday and Angela Hermann, perhaps I'll see you next month. It's very possible. I'll get back to you guys. But if I don't, again, I do appreciate your willingness to adjust tonight with sort of a crazy show schedule as it turned out, and your patience, and good luck, guys, with Canterbury Park 2023. Jeff, I feel like I do have to say this. We didn't talk about the situation with the Sioux tribe and going forward. I don't want to get into politics and details. Is there anything you want to say about the long-term future of Canterbury Park before we leave the show that you can say or are willing to say?
Yeah, no, I certainly can talk about anything. We had a 10-year relationship with the Shakopee, Mdewakanton and Sioux. They own Mystic Lake Casino, the largest casino, I think, west of probably Connecticut. And it was a great relationship. It helped Minnesota horse racing. Breeding improved, the racing improved, with more people exposed to Canterbury. We've grown from that. Like business deals do, this one came to an end. A lot had changed in both the leadership of the tribe and Canterbury Park's board of directors too. Those things changed. A lot changed in the gaming landscape. I think there was an inability for us to agree on a path forward with sports betting. So that business agreement ended. Could it come back again? Sure. Sports betting was hotly debated at the Capitol this year. And what I think what I'll take away from it is that in a year where the Democrats had controlled both houses and ran a lot of bills through without needing any support from the other side of the aisle, sports betting wasn't one of them. There were people from both sides that said if the racetracks aren't included, it's not happening. So I take that as a positive. I think if we can and all we asked for was, let's get together, all of us, let's get the lobbyists out of the way, let's get the legislators out of the way, let's all of us, the teams, the tribes, and the tracks, sit down and let's talk this out, because the market is big enough and strong enough to support all of us, and that's all we asked for, and that's what we continue to ask for.
Well, Angela, the tribe and a lot of people have been big supporters for a long time, and I hope racing will continue in Minnesota. I don't have enough details to know, but I know that you guys are doing everything you can to make sure that Minnesota racing goes on for a very long time.
Yeah, exclamation point on what Jeff said, because that's a very succinct way to describe the situation that we're in and the situation we'll keep fighting for. So we got a lot of good people on our side, and I think that the more attention it gets in Minnesota, the better, and hopefully we keep things going in that direction.
Let's get sports betting. Come on, people. Let's get sport. This is 2020 frickin' 3. It came into Illinois about 2 years ago. It's been a game changer in here. It didn't help Arlington, but that's a whole other topic for another day. But it's been big here, and a lot of people have really enjoyed it. So, guys, thanks again. Do me a favor, please, because I'm not sure I'll be there in person. Please say hello to Paul Allen for me. I think he knows who I am, but whether he does or not, just tell him that Howard Kravitz guy that from the HHH Racing podcast says hello, and the Oracle, and let's see, Jay Litzow was on the show also. So anyway, anyone that's been involved with the show that you may or may not know of, just send good vibes from Howard Kravitz. I would greatly appreciate it. And I'm hoping, Jeff, we'll talk off air this week, but perhaps we can work something out and I can come up there for June 21st. Angela Hermann, Jeff Maday, I'll let you guys go. Again, thanks a lot and good luck this summer. Take care.
Thank you, Howard. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Howard.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. That was Angela Hermann and Jeff Maday. I feel bad because Vic came out a little bit late and it screwed up their timing and etc. So they were very gracious. They're probably angry, like, no, I'm sure they're not. But anyway, really appreciate Angela and Jeff for being patient. Canterbury Park, guys, please support Canterbury Park. They have excellent racing. It's underrated. They have big fields, especially on the turf. They might not have as big fields like the first week or two of the meet, but as they get some more influx of horses from coming throughout the country, they have a great betting menu and really good people. It's a track that you want to support, Canterbury Park. So for Angela Hermann, for Jeff Maday, for Vic Stauffer, this has been a very fun, entertaining episode 261 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Please join us tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday for Bettin and Boozin, and then 8 p.m. Eastern flagship show on Thursday as we talk about the Santa Anita late pick 5. This has been your host, Howard Kravitz, for episode 261. Have a great night, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.